Joke's on you, Hoodie. I'm going Gen.G. Baby, let's get it going one more time. I'm kidding. I think G2 is going to handle their business pretty quickly here. Listen, let's talk about it, Corelli. All right, one of the more interesting matchups, Gen.G trying to rewrite the current narrative of slow to start, hot to finish. But for G2, the sky has been the limit. They've proven they're the best team in NA, if not the world. How do you see Gen.G beating G2 in this matchup?
Same way they always do, creating more dangerous opportunities at a higher level and more consistently. G2, their offense, for some reason, against Gen.G, really struggles. They don't have the same offensive output, and I think that's just due to a player like First Killer, who is always a nuisance on the field, no matter what team he's on and no matter who he plays. He's a very annoying player to go up against, and that combination with, I think, a player like apparently Jack and Chronic, who have the synergy, who've been on Gen.G for a while, and of course the game sense that they have. Very tough proposition when you go up against Gen.G.
First Killer's going to have to be a threat in this series. 5 games on the board. Will we go the distance? Analyst Desk kind of wants it. I'm interested to know what the chat's going to think, but you're going to need First Killer to really step up in this matchup. He's going to have to go toe-to-toe against Beast Mode. Already a couple of bumps. Atomic shoving apparently Jack out of the way as they wrap back to the defensive line. Expect that to be more and more of a factor in this series, Corelli. More and more times where Atomic's going to have to get physical with somebody like Abjack to keep the defense clear.
We said it last week as well. G2's, I think one of their biggest X factors is Atomic, and the way that he moves around the field and kind of plays that, I guess, that center mid type of position, kind of orchestrating that offense, and oftentimes finding himself in a shooting position. You've seen when G2 are in Copenhagen, what happens when Atomic isn't shooting well. They fall behind as, well, they fall behind right here as Gen.G send a rocket to the top shelf.
Good play by First Killer here, able to get it out quickly. He recognized Atomic didn't have enough speed to collapse in on the play. Says, you know what, we're going to pull it vertically. Get downfield quickly. You already have apparently Jack ready to help things, but this is where First Killer needs to be an X factor. Not just pulling the ball from his back wall and going solo downfield, but recognizing in space, where is there an opportunity to start the offense here and continue it downfield. But getting back to what you talked about a little bit, like, I feel like Atomic is very much the Itachi type, right? Like, he can play the deep back position, he can create cadence and space at midfield, but he's also one of the first ones out on rotation to make sure that the offense on the other side of the ball is not getting downfield for free. However, it has been all of Gen.G to start, and Chronic finds a second.
And it's been all Chronic. And every time we talk about Atomic, Chronic's scoring. So we need to stop saying it for the G2 fans out there, because Chronic is all over this G2 team right now. And this was something that we kind of mentioned, was that I think that kind of in-your-face nature from Gen.G catches G2 out a little bit more. I don't know if G2 isn't ready for it, or if they're just not expecting Chronic to be so much or so aggressive as he has been.
You know,
for G2, I think you have to slow down the game a little bit, find your pace, and then orchestrate your offense from there.
For a team in Gen.G that has been so inconsistent as of late, the one thing you can always count on is that they'll play some of their best Rocket League against the best team in NA. They're really one true counter. It is G2. These are two squads that have been in the grand finals against one another more times than many can count. They both have regional championships. Gen.G still hunting for their first LAN victory outside of the fall major back almost 2 years ago. G2, the most recent victors in the LAN environment. Chronic looking for his third on 3 shots, trying to make it 4. Back touch. Apparently Jack sneaks it under 3-0.
Chronic, my God, what did this guy eat before this game? He's all over him this time. He's not scoring, but he's keeping that ball in play. It comes out slowly and lightly from the box, and the follow-up is there from apparently Jack. All of Chronic behind that play, and Gen.G smothering G2
I really like
in the
this
first
approach
game.
from Gen.G. They're not trying to get fancy with it, not trying to out-mechanic the likes of G2. Just getting right up dead center net, forcing the defense to try to make a stop. They haven't. It's worked. 3-0. Gen.G looking very comfortable right now in game 1. A couple of double commits. That's awkward, but apparently Jack's still able to clear space downfield and keeping the play moving. Gets one touch off the backboard. First Killer throws it towards Chronic's side. Bounces back out. Available here, and that will be an open net that is missed. Daniel threw it towards the open side, but unfortunately just a little too far out.
Yeah, not the best pass from FK across the box there. Way too high and with too much pace. You wanted that one on the ground, leading your shooter into the ball so they can kind of wind up. It doesn't really matter. They're up 3-0 and they can allow something to escape. Chronic with 5 shots right now out of their 7. And here he comes again. Double tap, and he can't get it. Apparently, Jack trying to slow it down, and FK waiting patiently to see what G2 does. And right now, what has G2 done? Chronic is just all over him.
I mean, this has just been a masterclass of offensive pressure from Gen.G in this game. Again, a team that can play at this speed, at this style, against so many different squads, but just came down to consistency. Could they do this against the top teams game after game after game? It's only game 1 of a best of 5, but it is a good start. And Gen.G come out guns blazing in the opening 5 minutes. 1 minute to go. G2 still looking for their first. Apparently, Jack just lets it go on its way. Chronic, 7 shots, 3 goals, 700 points.
My goodness. I mean, they're just all over him. And Chronic, better for it. Hat trick for him. And with 7 shots, like you mentioned, this is a slaughter in game 1.
But we'll see it in game 2 if you're a G2 fan. For Gen.G, this is excellent momentum to start the series. Chronic's been everywhere on the field. So efficient on ball, upfield, in the offensive third. Something that he has been criticized for, I think unfairly, but it really feels like he's come into his own in this roster and at least looks the most comfortable in creating offense, and especially when it comes to allowing first kill or apparently Jack to lag behind. Chronic doesn't feel any pressure to not take initiative, make that his 4th goal of the game.
My goodness. And for G2, I mean, this is kind of a go next situation. I mean, that's not a great carry from Daniel, and I mean, it was going nowhere. Didn't have any help either. Chronic shooting 50% on 8 shots right now. 4 out of the 5 goals have come from him. And Gen.G making a statement
Chronic
here
looking for
in
the
game
5th.
1.
Centers it to first killer. Chronic might be easily leading up in the leaderboard of the offensive MVP for this week if he keeps playing like this, but one of the better starts I think he's ever had in a game 1. I don't remember the last time I've seen Chronic, score 4 goals just so easily.
Yeah, that's tough to beat. Coming out with that type of start, tough to beat. G2 is going to get one, but with 10 seconds left, it's go.
At least get something for the road. Finally win a 50 at the midfield. The first time it feels like the G2 offense has been able to, I don't know, exist with the ball without getting bullied off of it. 10 seconds left. It's going to be a miracle, and it will not happen, I'm telling you right now. But G2 have a long series ahead of them for Gen.G. I mean, the most perfect start you could ever ask for.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you talk about a team that has had success against G2 in the way that they had so many times, this, I don't know. I would say this is a little unexpected with a blowout like this, but for Gen.G, them winning game 1, certainly not unexpected.
And the best way to silence a lot of maybe the criticism about Gen.G as of late is to have these kinds of performances where even if it's just Chronic doing everything he can, 889 points, 4 goals, 1 assist, 2 saves, 8 shots, like, again, Chronic is one of the best offensive players in the entire region. He's one of the most well-oiled machines when it comes to being slotted into this offense. We saw it back in Worlds last year, even though they kind of bowed out in the quarterfinals. We've seen it ever since he got picked up. There's a lot of questions about why Chronic, why this specific player. Apparently, Jack has built him up to be like the next big superstar. And Chronic at times does not get the same amount of respect that some of his peers do, but he is by no means a slouch. He can put on performances like this, Corelli, where you're like, man, you just kind of get re-remembered of how good this kid is. And it's going to take these kinds of performances. If first killer is not going to be the one from the side while just destroying the defense, Chronic's going to have to be the tip of the spear for the offense, and he's doing it.
And he certainly was. He was absolutely the tip of the spear for the offense here, to the point where, I mean, Chronic didn't even need his teammates. He was all over the place. You could take away all of his teammates' goal. They were fine. And for Gen.G, this is a dream start. I can't imagine G2 is going to let this happen again, but you never know. If it's not their day and Gen.G keep playing like that, you're getting the same output like you did from Chronic in Game 2. Could be disaster for G2.
We'll see how they respond in Game 2. For Gen.G, all things pointing up. All signs a go. Daniel, backboard Atomic. Made it interesting. 20 seconds killed into Game 2 already. G2 looking a little bit more comfortable. And as I say that, they give it right back. Make it 1-0.
Disaster start for G2. And Daniel getting dunked. Beast Mode trying to get back in time. And, I mean, listen, saving it off the post is what he had to do. Unfortunately, comes right back out the first killer. And Gen.G there to crash the play. What a start. 1 for 1. It's first killer on the board first this time. and a 1-0 lead for
Gen.G
Gen.G.
outplaying every single side of the field against G2 right now. Daniel waiting as Atomic will get the call. Wins the 50. Back to Chronic. Waiting on the boost. Leaves it for first killer. Rips one. There's the demo. Into the midfield we go. So the first couple of assaults, G2 give up a goal, maybe a second.
Oh my.
You know, we're trying to build this
Oh,
story
no.
at the midfield, but every time there's a challenge, it's an open back line, and Gen.G capitalize.
Oh no. It's another challenge that goes way in favor of Gen.G. Of course, this one's scoring, but even in the previous goal where that challenge over Daniel put G2 in a really tough spot. And you're almost a minute into this game. Atomic and Daniel, I mean, Atomic's got 16 points. He's only gotten a few touches on the ball, and that's with a shot.
You will be seeing both these teams in the World Championship, so keep that in mind. Enjoy the ride. Gen.G looking incredible in this matchup right now. Apparently Jack will recover with all the space in the world. Atomic, no challenge. Uncharacteristic from Atomic. And I don't know if it's just hesitation or something, but the passiveness from G2 is surprising, to say the least.
And I mean, listen, this is, I think, historically and from most fans' perspective, the toughest matchup for G2 in this tournament. So it isn't surprising necessarily that Gen.G is having success against G2, but as you're mentioning, Spaceman,
oh my goodness,
the way they're doing it and the passiveness coming out from G2 right now and the pressure that Gen.G's been able to put on G2, certainly in the challenge game, at the very least, is something that you don't expect.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it. The challenge game has just been completely one-sided in the first two games here in this series, which again is not an inherent negative onto Gen.G's capabilities. It's more of we expect more from G2. We know what the woes have been for Gen.G. Gen.G have clearly fixed those woes. Shout out Chrome, Atomic, slow floater. But G2 looking very, very comfortable and not in the best way possible. Atomic finally opens up something here for G2.
And this is the type of shooting that you're looking for from Atomic. He takes away that corner boost and then rotates immediately, cuts in front of the play. He knew he could get this shot off quickly. Top shelf. Defense can't react.
Back off the kickoff. Cuts the lead in half. How will Gen.G respond? First killer out in front. Continues to play the ball. Chronic demoed. Back-to-back demos here for G2. And now some urgency from this offense and the challenge game, something that had been missing in the first two games. Looked like they were just kind of getting lulled into a trap. However, it's changed. Daniel will take the call. Doesn't have anybody else to help out. Will play it to the corner. This should be a ball here for Gen.G to handle, and they will.
I mean, how many times have we even mentioned a G2 player in the offensive context? I mean, almost never.
Rarely.
I think I mentioned Beast Mode one time in this series so far, and it was when he put the ball off his own post to try and save it. That's about it. So, you know, just from trying to remember these types of things for G2, it's clear that their offense isn't really working. Now, having said that, the last minute or so, they were able to lock in Gen.G quite successfully. Weren't able to find that goal outside of Atomics. Now Gen.G trying to return the favor.
Oh, uncharacteristic miss from Atomic. Didn't read the bouts appropriately. Here comes first killer. Right on target. Tried to slot it. The defense still for G2. Keeping them involved in this game. 2-1 scoreline. Daniel. Able to get the touch. Atomic pops it high. Once more, Gen.G unthreatened defensively, handling every single touch the G2 throw at them.
That one's clean off the back wall. No one from Gen.G's there trying to slot it. Was Atomic, and a good effort. Everyone knew Atomic was winding up for that one just because it hung outside of the box for so long on the Gen.G side. And G2 looking to get their offense going. They're only down by one with 50 seconds left. Could certainly find their equalizer here. Daniel winding up, and first killer comes from the sky to deny.
2, 3, 4 different looks. Still, Gen.G's defense respond quickly. Chronic through the corner to apparently Jack. Dish and dime. 3-1 in game 2 and a potential 2-0 series lead.
And this is so scary for G2 because they just didn't. They had all that pressure on Gen.G. They couldn't make anything happen, and Gen.G walked down the field after playing the majority of defense for the last minute and a half, and put another one away. Now the hole's that much deeper.
Plenty of time on the clock to at least make it interesting, but Where's that explosive offense from G2 that makes you second guess how you set up defensively? Where's Beast Mode? Where's Daniel? Atomic cut down as soon as he touched the ball. Apparently Jack. Backboard. Jack looking for the double. Beast Mode to the midfield. And there's just nothing there. Every time they try to get a setup, every time they try to get an extra touch, Gen.G defenders are out in front, cutting down the pass. Atomic was looking just for a center from the high part of the backboard. It's not going to matter. And there's not much time on the clock left. It is a 2-0 lead for Gen.G in a very, very, very dominant start.
Yeah, very dominant from Gen.G. And despite G2 maybe getting their offense going a little bit here, I mean, it was never that much of a worry. Gen.G's defense weathered it just fine. And for G2, I mean, even the stats kind of tell the story. You've got 10 saves coming out from G2 to the 5 of Gen.G. Gen.G generating, what, 15 shots? 15 shots against G2, the current major winners and best team in the world. And for Gen.G, again, in a matchup where they are very comfortable, they have a winning record against G2. It's not surprising that they're winning. It's more surprising in the fashion they're doing it, because G2 have just shown nothing.
And it's scary when, you know, the lowest stat you have on the stat card is first killer at 8 shots. That tells you everything you need to know about the game. First killer with 8 shots, and he only had 389 points. And of course, the game, they're still winning. I mean, that's the scary part. They're not shutting down. You know, one of the most generational talents we've had in Rocket League in first killer. He's just putting 8 shots up just because he can. He has a goal to his name. But Chronic, again, like, even when he's not 1v2ing players in the front of the net, 2 assists, 3 saves, 2 shots, almost 470 points, no goals, but he's doing it everywhere. It doesn't matter whether he's on ball, off ball. The offense still flows a lot of times through Chronic, and he looks very comfortable doing that, Corelli. That's been the difference maker, I think, from last season to this season, is Chronic has really embraced that role, and he looks like he feels more comfortable in it. But G2, I mean, straight up, just have not had an answer in this series. They have not had a single answer to anything Gen.G have tried.
No. Yeah, plain and simple, no. No, they have not. And to the point that you made, I mean, the offense, whether you want to say that was for the season or not, in this series, the offense has flown through Chronic with Gen.G. They have utilized him as the tip of the spear, and he has broken through so many times in the G2 armor.
Oh, man.
And now for Gen.G, they are looking to close out G2 here 3-0 in this series.
Oh, that's a very awkward touch. Chronic back pass. Apparently Jack flips it right under. You're getting picked apart on every single angle. This is just brutal.
And look at the ball movement from Gen.G, knowing that they had someone to follow up and popping that one up. Everyone from G2's watching the play go from right to left in front of them, and the last man winding up for a shot. That little pop throws off the rhythm of the game, and it allows the offense to succeed.
I mean, it's so one-sided right now. It's kind of impressive. Jack, the clear, first killer, doesn't have any boost, but still, again, able to stay involved. Chronic trying to create some havoc on the defensive end. And is that an open net? It might be. No, Daniel threw it towards close post, but unfortunately for the G2 offense, that one won't fall. Now what do you do? Maybe you just need somebody to kind of step up, be selfish with the ball, and say, I'm going to take it. I'm going to try to make a play, because everything else has not worked.
And it's multiple times now where, and I know this might not be a big deal to a lot of people, but for me, if you're not getting your big playmakers involved in the game, it says something. And this is multiple games now where I look at the scoreboard and I see G2 players in the first minute and a half. Beast Mode's sitting at 32 points. He's just not involved. He's not getting anything as far as touches in the game. That's very important for a player's confidence in any context, let alone Rocket League. And so for G2, clearly, they're struggling to get their players in position to make something happen. As soon as I say it now, Beast Mode attacking the net, but Chronic there to break it up.
It really does feel like a night and day difference for Gen.G. And we talked a lot in Game 1 specifically about how Atomic can be a presence against the Gen.G offense. He can be a presence against the cadence they like to set through Chronic. Atomic has just, and it's credit to Gen.G's defense of the midfield, Atomic has been a non-factor in this series. He has not been there at the midfield in the counterattacks. He got bumped once in the first game, but he hasn't been able to slow down Chronic or apparently Jack. I mean, every single different way G2 can beat you, they've been neutralized in this series. And Corelli, that doesn't happen very often. Even for Gen.G's best efforts, this has been like a just complete 180 from the Gen.G we saw last week.
Yeah, certainly much better from Gen.G's side after last week's, I would say debacle. Was not a good look from Gen.G. And obviously this game means a lot more to them than G2. G2's still sitting pretty healthy here, 5-2 so far in the league play, while Gen.G just above 500 at 4-3. This would help even the stakes with a very big contender in G2, were they to close out this series.
For a G2 squad that has built their offense on mechanical unpredictability, they look so predictable right now. Every pass is immediately read. Every touch is closed in on. There's nowhere to go for G2. Gen.G have all their spots taken. Backboard, Daniel can't finish the double. Maybe the best look that G2's had in this game. Still nothing. It's just a brick wall right now defensively, and Gen.G are not slowing down.
We got Daniel involved now, the G2 offense trying to get going here. Daniel up to 5 shots, haven't been able to convert quite yet. They're up to 7 in total. In fact, out shooting Gen.G, as that one's going to ring off the post, and it's an own goal from apparently Jack. He did get bumped, but I think he just didn't expect that one to go straight into his car.
That's making the top 5, baby. Crossbar. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
Well, you need a lucky bounce sometimes, right? Sometimes you just need something to go your way. G2 finally gets something to go their way. Now how do you pull back? Apparently Jack. Pass to Chronic. Catches it. Reset. Spiraling. Little pirouette to the front of the net. First killer, the Chronic. Uh-oh. Well, things kind of collapsed quickly. Gen.G have to fall back on defense.
Maybe some life here from G2. Daniel attacking the net. Can they put this one through? Another one off the post. Follow-ups there, and Atomic puts it home. Hold on a second, Spaceman. 2-1 in favor of G2 with a minute left on the clock.
Daniel just drives his Fenix straight into the heart of the net. Plays the 50. The rebound pops out. G2 capitalize. It just has to work. It doesn't have to be pretty. 60 seconds on the clock. Pass to first killer. Right on net. Apparently Jack will catch it. Uh-oh. That's not great. That's not a good touch, but Beast Mode almost able to put it away for a 3-1 lead. Still plenty of time on the clock, but G2 trying to hold on to this lead and keep this series going.
Certainly don't want to give first killer that opportunity in the air, and a good shutdown by G2. Just under 40 seconds to play. Gen.G looking to find their equalizer, looking to close this one out in 3, but Beast Mode says, no way, we're going to another game. Denies in the midfield, and G2 double up their lead.
Goal, and it waterfalls from there. One big 50 leads to a 3-1 scoreline, and G2 finally have some signs of life in this series. Things are looking up just a little bit. We're guaranteed to go more, but Gen.G not out of it by any stretch. I think you kind of just shake this one off and go next.
Certainly not a game. I mean, at least if you're Gen.G at this point, you just got to throw the house at it. You're down by 2, and that one almost could have made this one a little bit more interesting. Chronic looking like Spaceman out there. Everyone missing the ball at this point, and I think at this point you could safely say that players are ready to go to the next game.
It doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to work. I'll say that time and time again, as long as it remains true, and it's continuing to be the case. G2 escape a disastrous series. They fight through another game. Through the help of an own goal, they will live on to see game number 4. Current series lead 2-1 to Gen.G. But G2 finally gets something on the board, and it really kind of waterfalled from that initial own goal. Once they got something lucky to go their way, it's like all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait, we can still play at the midfield. We can play a little more confident. Then they start winning some of their challenges. We see it lead to a 3-1 scoreline. But again, I mean, even with that win, Gen.G still dominating every side of the ball for the full 4.5 minutes.
Yes, I think it's fair to be harsh against G2 throughout this series. I really don't think they played a great series so far. This game, I think they got a little help from apparently Jack, who own-goaled that ball, got a little stroke of luck, I would say. But for Gen.G at this point, I mean, they've controlled this series up and down. You've got Chronic early on that played extremely well, and for G2, they just haven't had an answer. They've been too slow. They aren't holding on to the ball. They haven't had great shooting. They haven't been generating great opportunities. This was the first game that we saw a little bit of that from them. See if they can keep that going for the rest of the series. Otherwise, I feel like Gen.G might just come back and mop this one up.
Fixed series score, says chat. Well, the series score is currently correct, so that's all we can do for you. Let's get into game number 4. Gen.G leading at 2-1. It looked like a sweep was in the cards, but unfortunately for G2, or excuse me, for Gen.G, G2 found a lucky bounce, and then all of a sudden, things have led us to game 4. However, Gen.G, again, have continued to dominate both sides of the field. Beast mode almost sneaks it through. Daniel makes it look interesting. G2 off the start, much more confident in their approach than they were in the last 2 games.
Yeah, generating 2 shots right out the gate. Daniel attacking again. G2 opportunity. Beast mode drops it in. And hold on a second. We might have a series. G2 looking a bit more alive.
Traffic jam that leads to a 50, and Beast mode crashes quickly. 1-0, folks. G2 strap in. We could be going 5. Just throwing it out there, you know? I know.
It's
well, listen, I'm trying to build.
Yeah.
Gotta give the fans what they want.
For G2, I mean, you got to get someone like Beast Mode going and that confidence on the ball, putting away his first goal in this game, the first goal for the team. Very important. Double commit with no one coming up with the ball is a little scary for G2, but in the end, they weren't punished, at least immediately, as I think Gen.G now start to worry just a little bit. They're playing from behind, and first killer almost finds the near post. He does. Follow-ups there. Oh my goodness, Atomic! He's a brick wall!
Surely not again. Surely not one more time. The second swing, Chronic. First killer not going to be there. Beast mode, downfield, absolute dynamite from G2.
Oh my goodness. What a save from Atomic, and they turn it into a goal. Little passing play from Daniel to Beast mode, quickly striking the net, and a 2-goal lead for G2. My goodness.
This plot armor is insane. First killer. Recenters back on the ball and gives it back to Daniel. G2 pulling the momentum straight out of the jaws of Gen.G. Beast mode, sidewall, no boost. Likes the idea. Still following. And now they look a little bit more comfortable in their rotations. Atomic able to win the touch. I'm just saying, just visually, Corelli, it just looks like G2 kind of locked in for a minute. They plugged their controllers back in, and all of a sudden, they're flying at the play.
And a 2-goal lead for G2. I mean, this is just a different team now, at least against Gen.G, who have been all over them. And for Gen.G, you've got to push. You've generated 3 shots. Have not been able to capitalize on any of them.
Jack. Okay. I mean, free space to Daniel. He can do whatever he wants with this. Pitches it underneath. 1v2 absolutely smoked. Daniel. All the space in the world. And a ridiculous give up on possession by Gen.G.
Oh my gosh. What a pinch from Daniel into the left corner as well. It took precision, and he hits it perfectly. A 3-0 lead for G2, and this series is getting interesting.
I'm not sure what the decision was there to give the ball right back to Daniel. But okay. This is the Gen.G we expected. The G2, excuse me, that we expected. Gen.G, who've had control of this series, pretty insane control of this series for like 10-minute stretches, have looked a bit deflated in this game. Is the G2 offense too much to handle? It might be. Beast mode. Whoa. Trying to slot it. Nice break by Chronic, able to find the save off the crossbar. 2 minutes to go is a lot of time. What do Gen.G need to change?
Well, right now, their offense certainly not generating those same consistent and scary attempts that they had in the beginning. They had a lot of solo plays as well. You're not seeing any of that anymore, but maybe this one going to trickle in for apparently Jack. He's poked it free from the claws of G2 in the midfield, even with 2 players around him. Beast mode and Daniel. I think Beast mode kind of could tell from the backside of that play. He knew Daniel was going to get beat, and apparently Jack keeping Gen.G in this one.
I want to say that's the first goal Gen.G have scored since they gave up the own goal. But still, they needed something. They just needed something. Maybe that's it. Chronic, the first killer. Daniel will get it out. Foot race to the ball. First killer. Back onto the play. He has apparently Jack ready, but Daniel, with the help of Atomic, was able to shut down what could have been a quick counterattack Apparently Jack all the way to the back wall. Sent out by Atomic. Tracking to FK. And absolutely nowhere to go with this one.
Time's running out for Gen.G. You've got to create your chances, and you certainly can't let G2 in any longer. You're down by 2, and G2 are looking for more.
Why not put more on the board if you can? First killer needs help. Jack couldn't get the bump. Has to fly out for boost. First killer, the only one back on the island. He'll be the lone defender at midfield. Everybody's committed up for Gen.G. Beast mode from the ceiling to apparently Jack. Both teams trading possessions. Chronic still up for this one, but it's not going to matter much. And if you're G2 here, I mean, you could play all length of the field, waste time if you need it. 30 seconds to go. And with a 2-goal lead, you have to think that Game 5 is on the horizon.
I think it's almost a certainty. G2 might even get their 4th. The demo comes out, and at this point, Gen.G hoping to score with some time left on the clock. Game 5 looming here against G2 and FK. I don't know if he's going to make it out cleanly. Atomic to put it back into the mix. This could be the last chance. It's denied again. Gen.G just can't get a hold of this ball, and G2 have bought themselves one more life and one more game.
Gen.G dictated the pace in the first 2 games. G2 decided to, I don't know. I mean, they called a quick huddle. Something was said in the comms because the last 2 have been a very different situation, and it really stemmed from the own goal in game number 3. It's been a different Gen.G since then, but G2 looked like the G2 we expected. Gen.G still have opportunities, but not as many, right? Not like 4 or 5 different looks for Chronic upfield by himself to try to find a goal or 2. Not that many opportunities for apparently Jack to be effective off ball as he's been in the last couple of games, but Crowley, this just feels like just a different series. Like if it's like one half of the series was completely Gen.G, the other half's been completely G2. There's been no cohesivity throughout the last 2 games. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened with G2, but they're back.
They're certainly back. It was the touch of apparently Jack. That's what happened. He owned gold, and then everything left Gen.G and went to G2. And I still don't think this has been the best back half of the series either for G2, but they're making it work, and they're certainly coming out on top. Game 5, Gen.G and G2. Someone's got to win here. And G2, they've got the hot hand right now.
Everything can change here on Champions Field. Standings matter, of course. Both these teams will be moving into the World Championship to represent North America, so nothing changes through this. But a lot of money on the line. Bragging rights for sure. Some extra scrim time if you need it. It's nice to see both teams throwing everything they have and the kitchen sink at each other, but so far, G2 in the latter half of this best of 5 has been the better team. Chronic tries to open up proceedings with a quick goal. First killer right back into the box. A bit of a double commit on the goal line. Some confusion from G2. However, they'll get out just in time. Beast mode, able to get 1 to bite. Make it 2. Daniel into the corner and poked away by first killer.
G2's offense been ramping up, been looking better and better. Gen.G, they have to find those solo plays again that they got out of Chronic, who's putting away 4 goals in the first game. They've got to take advantage of the cracks between G2's defense, as apparently Jack did in the previous game. Gen.G right now fighting for it on the G2 side, and G2 turn them away.
I mean, a fantastic clear from Gen.G. They follow up with a demo. That's what you like to see if you're a fan of those boys. First killer gives it back to Atomic. And now what do? Is a double come in on the rotation actually makes it a bit awkward. Apparently Jack just goes ahead and challenges. Chronic has some space to work with here on the backboard and in the goal line. Luckily, the bump comes through in time, but didn't have enough boost to push that possession down. Double tap not going to happen. Both teams getting their fair share of chances here, Corelli. It hasn't been really succinct offense from either squad.
I like the decision for Chronic to try and bring that one down, but right now with the way G2's playing, they're going to be all over it. And especially through your corner, it's very tough to find space. Don't have a lot of options, as that wall will act as a 4th defender. Even with being able to go up, it's just tough. Defenses can get to you so quickly. And Gen.G, they're watching this one kind of move from right to left, left to right. And very calmly, Chronic's able to carry this one out. Now the pass over to First Killer, off the back wall, and a bit clear. Comes out, apparently Jack racing back. That one beat him to his net, but it went wide.
Really big touch from apparently Jack. He's had 2 of those on the clears that have kept Gen.G back on the offensive side of the ball. Chronic maybe missed his opportunity. Beast Mode just going to let it float in. Daniel from his own side throws it downfield, and G2 take advantage.
And great plays here from G2. They probably should have scored the last one that was just thrown downfield as well. It was just off. This time, Daniel getting his redemption. Gen.G throwing everything at it, but coming up with nothing. G2 throwing it over the back of Gen.G. A wide open net in the end.
Gen.G is going to continue to kind of crash the offense. If you're G2, if you're Daniel, you're very comfortable pulling up from the backcourt. Beast Mode will get out, but Chronic to apparently Jack maybe should have stayed selfish with that possession. Instead, the pass was cut down quickly. Beast Mode will pop it out of harm's way. And we've seen this a couple of times, Corelli, where the Gen.G offense is pressed up 2 at a time, 3 at a time. They can't break through this front line.
And yeah, I think that G2's done a great job of disciplined defense. And the counterattack has been extremely strong. Oftentimes, Gen.G setting so deep into the play that they're getting faked out now, but Gen.G, the fake of their own. First Killer makes the last man jump at Atomic, and from his POV, he was just trying to make sure that he could cover all options, but he didn't account for the fake.
Love the assist from AppJack. Just let First Killer go make a play. Let the young one make a play upfield. First Killer, the 1v1 god. Gets the defense to bite. Tie game. Backboard. It's wide open, but a huge save from First Killer. Knew exactly where that shot was going. Now the counterattack opportunity. Can Gen.G capitalize? Chronic, full tank of boost. Has to beat Atomic, does. Has Daniel waiting on the backboard. Into the corner. First Killer's going to hunt for this possession. But he can't even get a touch on it.
Time ticking down. 4 shots on the G2 side. All of them on Daniel. 8 shots on the Gen.G side. It only takes one more. Maybe their 9th here for Gen.G. As a minute strikes on the clock in Game 5.
Beast Mode. Kept First Killer at bay. Defense not relinquishing their corner pressure that they've had for the majority of this Game 5. Gen.G doing a very nice job of tracking with Beast Mode as he tries to go for these little extra touches, those setups, the rebounds that have worked so well for G2. Daniel, that's a ridiculous clear. Interesting center. Apparently Jack can't get out in front. Big help from Atomic. Keeps the back line clear.
Less than 30. And you can see Gen.G all pushed back here, waiting for the imminent strike from G2, and smartly done by Gen.G. Now this is their opportunity. First Killer drives to the far post and denied by Beast Mode. Gen.G still in possession.
I like that shot from First Killer. That's where he can do the most damage in this game. Under 10 to go. Chronic to bump. First Killer, front of the box, plays it on the catch. Double commit by Daniel in Beast Mode. To get it out, Chronic keeping it alive on the hood of his car. Has one to beat, and a huge challenge from Beast Mode to get us into OT.
Game 5 overtime. Gen.G and G2. You love to see it. The top dogs of North America. The best the region has to offer right now. Battling it and going the full distance, and will it end early here as G2 turned away. FK quickly up to this one on the dunk. Apparently Jack's there. He goes high. Chronic goes as well. Is it a double tap? Atomic's there. And he'll turn it away.
And he gets the corner grab as well. Resources in the tank for G2. Atomic cutting. Daniel will be there in time. Apparently Jack, not the best center. He definitely wanted more on that touch. First Killer, biding time, allowing Chronic and apparently Jack to get set up on the offensive third. Starting to pick their spots a little bit more as Gen.G work on the windup. First Killer from the side wall, can't win the 50. Daniel gets a massive clear for G2.
Gen.G, I feel like, have been spending more and more time on offense, but they've been a bit more conservative about it. I think G2's just waiting for the counter if it comes. And Gen.G have absolutely given them the opportunity a few times in regulation. But still we sit tied and in overtime, just over a minute now, and almost ended by First Killer. Apparently Jack trying to keep it in the mix. Everyone rotated out for Gen.G.
Chronic Gets beat at the midfield. First goal's going to have to take this right through the corner and up the sideline. And does just that. Wins it around beast mode. Here comes apparently Jack. Daniel immediately there for the challenge. G2 not giving anything away for free. They know every single touch could lead to a pass, could lead to a shot. They have to stay in front of the ball. Apparently Jack on low boost, still being a nuisance, and First Killer gets a free possession.
Through one and takes the challenge on two. Pass over to FK, and I think FK just wasn't really perfectly angled for that. Great touch to the back wall, but G2 eats it up. Trading blows back and forth. You're up to 15 shots, now 16 shots on the Gen.G side to the 5 of
Solo
G2.
effort from Jack, Chronic. Very standard shot. I mean, Gen.G has laid that out to bear many times. G2 were ready for it. Apparently Jack looking for the clear. First Killer, not the best touch. Daniel knows he can crash here. They'll get a demo. Beast Mode's going to have to cut into the lane. He will do so. Atomic on low boost actually gets the call. They'll take it through the corner. They need help on the clear. Apparently Jack's still there. First Killer waiting for an angle. A chance to jump at this possession, but right back to the midfield. Chronic was ready. Daniel, Beast Mode working together in the corner. Who's going to take it first? Beast Mode circling, hoping Atomic maybe jumps early. First Killer leaves it to apparently Jack. Both offenses struggling to find their spots and get there in time.
And Gen.G, I mean, they're really pressing. I mean, they're at 19 shots now. They're putting pressure onto G2. You can't say the same for G2 on the Gen.G side. None of these shots are directly on target, though, or at least they're easy saves. That's a great pass. First Killer to end it for Gen.G. It took them 5, but they finally shut down the Kings of NA.
I mean, it has not been the most impressive showing of mechanics or raw skill. It's just been, let's bully our way into the net, and it eventually works. Gen.G capitalize on the pressure upfield. They capitalize on the flurry of shots they put towards the net. You can see it there in the stat card. A ridiculous amount of opportunities. And enough is enough. The pure volume of opportunities here was too much in OT Corelli. This was maybe one of the, strangest overtimes between two of the top teams we've seen, at least in this tournament, but it works, and Gen.G survive a very interesting series.
Well, it's a strange series from G2. It didn't really feel like they wanted to be here for the first two games, and then all of a sudden they get an own goal from apparently Jack, and things really flipped on its back. Regardless, they still fall in 5, but for Gen.G, this was a series where they played extraordinary Rocket League in those first 2 games. Fantastic work from them, and then something happened with the apparently Jack goal that they gave up, or the own goal. Gave some life to G2, and from there, G2, they looked a lot better. Gen.G closed it out in the end, but that you gave them just a little inch, and they took a mile.